What do you love?
which is, what do you think about?
So I would pre-show, I was like, I don't know what this is, and you started to explain it to me. So what's a brief run? And that guy is talking about Humane, the pen, which on the live show on YouTube, you'll hear us talking about. I'm just so fascinated with the Humane pen, and it's this new AI powered cellular device that I'm just. If I had $700 that I didn't need to save, I would buy it right now. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Joe, what is Neuralink? So I know what to think about it.
All right. Neuralink is being funded, researched by one of Elon Musk's companies. He has shared what he would love for it to do in the future. Basically, it is a chip that gets implanted into the human brain. It is a human to computer interface. Currently, what it reportedly does, and it's only, as far as has been announced, it's only been installed in one person. Currently, what it does is it interfaces with an app, and the goal right now, in the short run, the first set of goals, is to help people who are handicapped, especially like nonverbal, so that it interprets their brainwaves and would allow them to talk or to do other things that the app could do. So simple commands, maybe. I could envision it linking up with like your Google Home or whatever to do things to lock your doors and set up things like that. But what Elon Musk said he would love for the future of it to be is being able to like download knowledge directly to your brain from the internet. So like, oh, I'm going to go to Japan. Let's just upload Japanese into my head. He also
I've watched a Black Mirror and an Hour Limit
right?
on this topic.
I mean, I haven't watched Black Mirror, but yeah, some of what he says he wants it to do really does scare me. He has also mentioned that he foresees it being possible to make a backup of your memories.
I watched Altered Carbon. I'm down with that.
And so it is an interesting concept. I think it will help people with disabilities quite a bit once they get it working. Because let's face it, Elon Musk is not one to give up on innovation, even if he has to spend lots and lots and lots of money on it.
Yeah.
And so how far they get with it will be determined in the future, but I think he will meet a lot of those initial goals. We'll see if he meets some of the later goals to it.
So I understand what it is. What do you think about it now?
I don't think I would trust a chip in my head, because if it's able to interface with an app, that means it has connectivity outside of you. And I don't know what it could do to your brain, because ultimately your brain is electrical signals, which is why they can read it and interpret it. But what happens when it starts? I mean, this is just conspiracy theory stuff, but what happens when they start sending signals into your brain? Could it implant? I mean, because he literally said he wants it to implant knowledge. So it could definitely, if they get to that point, I don't see why it couldn't implant false memories. What's that? What's that? That effect when
Mandela effect.
Mandela effect. Like, it could literally turn everybody that has it into the Mandela effect. Like, hey, you need to remember this. And there's been documented cases where companies have just gaslit people and into thinking that it's the Mandela effect. Like Fruit of the Loom with their cornucopia, where they're like, no, we never had a cornucopia, never. And then people literally find old clothes that, yeah, no, you had a cornucopia,
because it gets people still Googling them and keeps them at the
right?
top of the topics. Yes, I know. It sucks.
But if the Neuralink happened, and they could implant knowledge, they could definitely implant fake memories on a mass
Yeah.
scale if enough people had it. And that scares me. It really does. But I mean, just like any technology, it if it can be abused, it will be abused, but it can also be a force for a lot of good. Um so I mean, just look at the internet. There's some amazing things that happen because of the internet, and there's a whole lot of trash that happens because of the internet.
It's
And
true.
so it's all in how it's used. I don't know if I trust Elon with with this technology. So, but yeah,
Um,
there's some things that Elon says that I'm like, oh yeah, I that's spot on. And then there's other things that I'm like, no. I mean, he is very eccentric, period, and that he has very polarizing opinions in general.
he's a
What do you
very
think?
polarizing person in general.
Yes.
Um, I don't know about Neuralink, because the brain is a very interesting thing, and I don't know. I don't know if I could do the brain part, but I am with Random Kid to a point because I embrace our cyborg overlords. Uh, I I do too. Altered carbon. Give me my eternal body. Give me my robotic body. I I don't care because I do kind of believe, from a medical standpoint, we're two symbiotic beings to here. Now it's not quite true, but your brain and the neural network, right? The spinal cord, the nerves, all that jazz. That's all one piece, and that's all that communication. And the reason you're paralyzed is because then that cable from your brain to the legs got cut off, and we don't know how to repair it yet. We're getting close, but we don't know how to repair it yet. But those muscles still work. They still do their own thing. Same with the heart. You can keep a brain alive by pumping fresh blood through the body with a machine and by breathing for a human being with a machine. So the meat suit isn't doing anything, but the brain's still alive. You can do that. Now, yeah, I know Corey Friggs alive, but by definition, alive. Now, and you'd also flip that. You can be brain dead and the heart can still beat. The heart is the only organ or anything in the body that has its own neural network basically inside of it. It creates its own energy as opposed to the brain converting, sending the signals to convert sugar and all this other stuff. The heart does its own thing. And so even without the brain, the heart will do what it will, including as you lose oxygen, your body will start shutting down oxygen from shunting, is what it's called. But it tries to save the heart and the brain, and you'll lose your stuff in your feet and your legs. There'll be no pulses in your arms and all that. And you might sometimes it's called a carotid, right? We can find a carotid pulse. I won't find anything in the wrist. I won't find anything in the feet. Meaning there's no heartbeat going out to the body, but I can find it here. It's keeping the brain and the heart alive. Guess out of those two, who loses? The body will shut the brain down before it shuts the heart down. And it's just a thing. And so with all that understanding, and for me, is I kind of feel like the brain is who I am and the heart, and this is just a meat suit. So put me in, coach. I'm ready to go cyborg on us. But right now we just don't know. We as much as we know, it's like the ocean and space. We know what more about all those things: brains, oceans, and spaces, and women. Not so much women. We really don't know much about them, but we know all right. We know all this stuff, but yeah, we know just a fraction. Just a fraction. I googled it not that long ago, going surely not, because in the 80s this was a stat: 80 to 90%. So maybe let's say I don't remember the exact stat. So 70 to 90% of the world's oceans have not been explored. Like that's how much we have not, as with all the exploration we've done, we've barely cracked the surface. Yeah, I saw Pacific Rim too. I love it. Yes, Random Kid is my best friend. Aliens live in the deepest part of the ocean. Yeah, that and monsters, baby. That and monsters. Come on. So I don't know about Neuralink, but if you flip that story and said, hey, you can get a cybernetic arm to replace your arm, and it'll work just like your regular arm, except you can do cool stuff with it, like open locks and pop bottle caps off and hack computers. I don't know. Super strength all day long. Volunteer. I volunteer for tribute.
Like
But
Will Smith on iRobot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of other examples.
But when you're
Winter
going,
Soldier,
yeah.
Anyway,
But when you're going directly to the brain, I don't know, man. I mean, directly to the brain. So yeah, the arm would have to work on some kind of thing with nerves, right? Some kind of whatever. You have to get the signal somewhere. I don't know. I'm kind of being a hypocrite here, but planting a chip in my brain. I'm with you, Joe. Okay. It's one thing if it goes, oh, I think, hey, I'd like to watch Squid Games the challenge on Netflix right now. My TV turns on and Netflix comes up and Squid Game starts playing. That I'm kind of down with, but you sending fake memories or signals to me, I don't know.
What if it gets to the point where it can intercept your signals to your eyes and ears, and instead of playing it on a TV, it makes you hallucinate the show?
You mean like the holodeck?
That's not far off, but I mean that's kind of like what made me think of that was Random Kid's comment about Sword Art Online having an interesting take on downloading a person's brain, because in Sword Art Online they have a helmet that lets them play VR games, but it's called a Neuralink, and it intercepts the signals that your brain sends to the rest of your body. And so if you try to move your body while you're in the game, it moves your character in the game instead of your real body. And so it's a similar thing, although it's an outward connection, but it is intercepting your brain waves and translating them to the device instead of to your body.
Bruce Willis did a murder mystery movie.
Surrogates.
Is that what it was? Yes. And it's kind of that same idea. I like the idea of a surrogate, but I also hate it. So I still have this body. I still am locked in a room somewhere. I still have to come back to this. So that's still not real. Whereas like altered carbon, where your memories are downloaded to a disk, as long as that disk doesn't get destroyed. And oddly enough, interestingly enough, it's at the basilar skull brainstem, right? And that's really what would happen too if you get cut or shot or damaged right there to this base of the skull. Everything's done. Everything's done. So that's where they implanted this memory chip, which is an interesting thing. But as long as that chip doesn't get destroyed, you just download into another altered carbon, right? It's just a meat suit. Boom, in, boom, in. I kind of dig that. I don't dig the surrogates one. But I don't know, man. I don't know. You talk about hallucinating a TV show. Now you're going to really make me a hypocrite. I kind of wouldn't mind doing that. It's like, oh, all of a sudden I'm sitting on the couch and because I like the VR, but it's VR, but in the world, right? Real. Like I can really watch the episodes go on.
Best trip I ever had.
Dude, I don't know though. We would be I see what you did there. But I don't okay. Imagine you are elevated, if you will, on whatever elevation device you want to use.
Mountain Dew.
You are now going to sit down. Yeah, okay. You're in a sugar blur of Mountain Dew. And now you're going to sit down and watch Demon Slayer, but it's this visceral, you could touch it, feel a thing. I think that's a bad trip when some of these episodes that they do. Because, think about it. The episode doesn't change. You're not running alongside them. There's these jump cuts and stuff. So all of a sudden you go from them fighting on the rooftops and cutting the ribbon demon, and you're panting, breathing heavy because you're in the middle of it. So all of a sudden we're now down on the ground where there are more fights. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
And a random kid, sugar daddy random kid, I should call him now, makes me think of The Sixth Day, though that was with clones. I'm kind of down with clones too. As long as I don't know I'm a clone, who really cares?
Have you seen The Sixth Day?
Yeah,
That's
that's
got
Jude. That's not Jude Law. That's
Arnold. It's got Arnold.
Arnold was the Sixth Day. I'm thinking of another one with clones with
Isn't The Sixth Day
Ewan
where
McGregor, maybe?
they
No,
have like
not Ewan McGregor.
notches based on the number of clone, like what iteration of clone it is? They've got notches underneath.
I haven't seen it forever.
eyelid.
I remember
Or-
the cover art, but that's all I remember of it. I need to watch it again.